All right, so everybody got an agenda?
Yes.
You know
Yeah.
agendas? Okay, great. So we'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock on the dot. All right. My name is Dave Wally, I'm Director of Public Works and Municipal Facilities. With me tonight is Vicki Robichaud, foreman for Buildings and Grounds, Denise Manella, Department Assistant, and then Maria Baroud, and Kara Dunn, and Amy Wheeler. Okay. I had to cheat a little bit. Sorry. And Ann Champa is joining us as well. In the interest of time, there's one thing that just presented its opportunity to us, I think is exciting. We've been talking about the fencing and extending the fencing up at Pillsbury for some time now. I know that you guys knew this, but this has been going on. It precedes you guys coming in. And I think I sent you guys the last meeting last year, whatever. I had given you at least the quotes that we had solicited, but we just never got around to it. And they were several thousands of dollars, 8, 9, 10,000, depending on what we did, whether we did gates and everything else. At the beginning of the week, Finnegan Fence Company, who did the existing fence that is up there, called us with some exciting news that he's doing a fence job, and the supply company of the fencing sent him twice the order amount for the job that he was doing, not for the town, just a job that he had.
Yeah.
And he was haggling with them about come and get it and everything else, and they just said it cost us more money to send another truck and pick it up and get it back, so just keep it. So he doesn't want it, so he wanted to donate it to the town because he thought it was the exact fence that we have up there now. He's like, when I did the job for you guys.
Hello, everybody.
There he is.
Sorry that I'm late. I had a pretty significant issue.
No problem.
Hi, guys.
And now with us, Bo Butler, the Chief of Fire and Cemetery Secretary.
How you doing?
Good.
Thank you.
So, at any rate, it is similar as far as its white vinyl fencing, same height, and what have you. Instead of it being 4x4 size rail on edge, this stuff is 1x5, and so, but it's vinyl. It looks similar in nature, similar in height. So here is what we have now. So you can kind of see that. All right.
For the partial.
Yeah.
And the stock that there's a kind of elongated look at it. And then the stock that he has is just more railing style, 1x5. So, oddly enough, as I was driving down to one of the cemeteries today, I pulled over on one of the side roads because there it is. This is 3 rail, but it would only be 2. So it would kind of match the 2 rail system that we have there. It's just a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I don't think it really will be that noticeable as it's on the other side of the driveway and then goes all the way down to the other end of the other entrance.
Yeah.
So he's willing to donate it, and he just was talking to me about, because he wants to get it out of his yard and somewhere so it's safe and protected, doesn't get crushed or dirty or whatever. I asked him, well, he's like, and then you guys could dig the holes. I'm like, we're not digging holes. We got enough to do. There's like 15 holes to dig in order to. I kind of went up there and roughly measured it out, and there would be 15 holes. And he said he usually charges about $100 a hole to do it. Sometimes he does more depending on digging, but he knows it's going to be easy digging up there for where we're going. So what I wanted to ask you was if you're interested in 2 things: accepting the material donated and allocate the money for the install. I know it says $1,500. The way I wanted to do was ask for a motion to spend up to $2,000 for the installation, just in case we decide to go another 10 feet, we dig another couple holes. So because when we were looking at it the other day, we bring it to the high grass, but we probably could do almost 2 more sections, and then no one's never going to get around that.
Yeah, because I don't want to, people driving around like they are doing now, so if you put it there, if you can extend it, so who would be doing the labor? Because basically that saves us a lot of money. Finnegan would be okay.
Local company.
They're on Pillsbury Road, born and raised, been in town forever. but again, we're getting the material.
Yeah, that's a huge,
Massive.
yeah.
So,
What's
and
what's usually the value of the
Um,
materials?
probably about $4,000 or $5,000.
Really?
Yeah, the material's more valuable
Expensive, yeah.
than the labor. When we priced it out 2 years ago, I think it was $8,000 to do it all, or installed. So,
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
lot.
that's a
And then
savings.
with the materials that he's got, the posts are there, or we need to supply the posts?
no,
He's got the posts.
he's given the posts and all the railing.
Okay,
Yep, so there would be up to 15 posts and then 30 rails, and
Yeah.
then, the only thing I didn't talk to him about was the caps too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what caps, if he has the New England, or if he has the ones like in that photo where they're just, so, in order to get the matching caps, I might have to go buy them, and they're usually like $25-30 a piece, so that's why I don't wanna not have you allocate enough money in
Yeah.
case we have to. If we don't need it, we don't need it.
Right.
But, so if we just do up to $2,000, I think we can get the whole thing in.
Mhm.
You know, low end 1,500 or a couple $100 more for an additional hole or caps or whatever,
yeah,
so
if
that
we
they
can,
all
if we
look
can make
nice.
it longer, then, you
Yeah.
know, like you said, the.
Yeah, because where the high grass is in the winter, that'll flatten,
Yeah.
and then people might just
Yeah,
drive
right
around. So I
around.
might have them do another section or two further,
Yeah,
because
Good
then it
idea.
gets real ruddy and swale
Yep.
like, and I don't think.
we have some natural barriers at that point.
At that point.
Yeah.
Correct. So, so I just need a vote of the
Okay.
board.
Alright,
In
so
favor?
motion, yeah,
Do you have questions? No? Okay.
okay,
Okay.
yeah, motion
Up to
to up to
$2,000
$2,000.
for the installation of the fence at
Second.
Pillsbury,
Second.
Pillsbury Road.
Yeah,
Okay,
All in favor?
okay,
all in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Yeah.
Thank you.
none opposed then.
Yeah.
Not a big fan.
Oh, we have to make a vote to accept the donation, right?
Yes,
So, motion to
Yeah.
accept the donation
from
from
Finnegan
Finnegan
Fence
Fence.
Second.
Company. Okay.
So
All in
I have
favor?
a question. Do you need to put wooden 4x4s underneath the
No,
posts?
no, they're the thick wall, CPVC, and then they just set it in concrete.
Yeah.
So he's supplying the concrete and everything, that's included in the price of the holes,
Yeah.
so, which I was surprised at that.
These
I thought
guys
for
are
sure-
great. These
I
guys are
thought for
awesome.
sure he was gonna say that, so. Hello.
That's
All
the
right.
finance director.
We've already spent money, Justin.
You would have to spend more.
No, I think it's you saved money.
Yes, we did, we definitely did. So I know I'm going a little bit out of order here, but again, in the interest of time, the chief has to get somewhere too, so.
I got an alert meeting after.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, I'm just gonna kinda surmise what, a little situation that came in that Denise, took some information from. Basically the descendants of a family, of the Brown family, that is buried in Glenwood, lot 203N. They have a monument there that was erected, and the dates are from the late 1800s into the early 1900s for 3 of the 5 names that are on that monument. It's a 4-sided pentacle type monument, and there's 5 names embossed on it, but 2 of the names we know, they were buried in Haverhill, am I correct on that? So they never ended up being buried in Glenwood anyway.
And I've already taken them off the database,
Yes.
so that they're gone, they're just on the headstone.
Yeah.
In 2000, when did the Spineys cremains go in? Or was
They
it
went
90
in.
something?
2000,
Yeah, I hear you.
95,
No,
I thought.
know.
Was it 95 then?
95, yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
95.
yeah, it was 95.
I got my eyes dilated,
Oh,
so
Yeah.
I can't.
I'll be in line, Denise. It's okay. I got
The
you.
doctor said you'll need to wear your glasses, I'm like,
Yeah.
even with my glasses, it's not working. So I'm
But
sorry.
it will come back.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah, it will.
So in 1995, the Denise is going to correct me on this stuff if I'm not. The daughter of the Browns was buried there with her husband. That's
Yeah.
why the last name is Spiney.
Correct.
So her maiden name was Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, where it was a direct descendant, the daughter, the 2 burials were, urns were buried at the base of the monument, and a flat footstone was put there. There's no way we could do any excavation there, because everything that predates that was before we even had vaults. So the full burials, we don't know where they are. We have no way of knowing where they are. So that's ruled out, and I think the family understands at least that much, you know, roughly. So,
And this is the only information that we have.
yeah.
Oh,
So, we don't even really have any understanding as to how many lots were purchased. We know definitively there are 3 full burials there and 2 urns.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we don't know how many
Right.
plots they have or whatnot. So a relative called, and her relation is what?
She is the Spinney's daughter.
So this would be the Brown's
granddaughter.
granddaughter,
Mhm.
I guess. And she was inquiring as to how many lots are left, because they want to utilize them, and she's got a whole list of relatives that potentially want to be buried there as well. So, you can see the dilemma we're in. Our rules and regulations don't really talk about descendants per se, but Bo had a very, I think you were all in it.
Yeah.
Had an interesting,
Yeah.
a very good, what I thought was
Yeah.
legal response. So I'll let you take over what you're.
It's such a sensitive thing, right? Because the heart in me wants to
Yeah.
bury anyone that comes and say, yes, we will put you in the ground with your loved ones. That's what my heart wants to do. And the way we have discussed and the way we feel comfortable with it is that if we put the burden of proof on her to show that she does in fact have an entitlement to that plot, we'll do it. But then the other hat is we have to look out for the future of the town. And God forbid she isn't related or there's some type of feud and we put her in the ground and then a family member that does produce proof, real proof saying, wait a minute, who is this and why are they there? Now we're dealing with a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
So I try to find the balance in the compromise. And I personally feel with support of Dave and Ricky that the compromise here is to let her the option of providing that proof. And if she can, we'll make it work. I have an archaic document that Kent Dallin had given me when I took over for Kent that spells out the plot plans of the old section at Glenwood, this is one of those. Unfortunately, I'm in the process of moving and it's in the storage unit, so I just have to go get it and then review it. So I don't want to contact the family until I get all my ducks in a row and get all the intel available to me so I can present a reasonable case to them or her. So that's that's the way we're looking at this, but obviously we wanted to come to you guys because there is that gray area.
I had a
and get your
similar
leadership.
family situation with some cousins, and they had a family plot,
Yeah.
and they were gonna bury one of the brothers, and then the other brother, after they already had the name carved on the headstone, said, I didn't agree to this.
Oh my God. So
And he was
there it is.
already to a lawsuit, and
This
it was
is-
like, they had to
We-
take the
we-
name off the, so.
Oh, and then all this
it's-
undue hardship.
Yeah, so,
We have we have that
we
situation.
have to
now.
have the, know that all heirs approve that these people go in too, I think.
Well,
You know?
and that's very well stated. The other part, and it's heartbreaking, it rips apart my soul, is that there's been times in old plots where there's very little documentation or record on where the deceased is placed. And I'll go in and open it up and pull up remains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And,
Yeah.
I'm not the most religious guy, but
Yeah.
I talk to God in my own way, and when that happens, I'm destroyed.
Yeah.
And so, we can't say with any type of certainty
Where the
until I get that archaic document that might outline where they are.
Yeah.
It kills me, It's like the last thing that should happen to somebody after they've been at rest for so long, and then you rip them up on accident,
Oh,
trying to do the right
that's
thing, by the
yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a conundrum.
So, I think we just wanted to apprise the board of,
Yes.
of what's going on. Our rules and regulations don't exactly address what to do when we don't have a deed or even know how many plots were bought or what they paid. I mean, back then they could have paid by bales of hay.
Yeah,
I don't
right,
know.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're
Bartered.
Yeah. So, that might be just something to think about, to formalize something in the rules and regulations. You might want to come up with something that just outlines. I think that's a great
Yeah.
way, for the family has to prove,
the relationship and
yeah.
the documentation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I can see where this could potentially, somebody comes along and hey, you know, my great uncle so-and-so was buried in, you know,
Yeah.
over in Valley Cemetery in 1772. You know, I want my remains buried there, you know.
Yeah,
You know.
we need some proof, I think.
And
Yeah.
honestly, it's helpful to have that, and this is why these situations are good. Because much like a grievance, it allows us to kind of firm out a resolution moving, if it happens again, to go, so it's not Bo's word, it's not it's the rules and regulations word. And it's so much easier for us to go, here, please, let's review this document together. You know what I mean? It just, I think it's helpful for all parties involved.
So what we can do to move forward is Denise can contact her, tell her that we've discussed this at the board. We're gonna see what we can dig up. We're gonna look at how previous cases were handled, and to make sure we're not setting some new precedent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The board is also gonna probably move forward and, you know, research how do other, you know, places handle this, and maybe come up with something for our rules and regulations. And maybe just request of Denise, you know, exactly what's this list? Are we talking like, you know, 14 people, or are we talking just
Yeah.
her
That's
and, you know,
That's
we
the
want,
gist that I got, was
the-
everyone's being cremated.
yeah, but how many?
but,
To fill, whatever they have
Yeah.
left, they wanna fill it.
Yeah, and we don't, I think that's probably gonna be almost, you know, possible. to
And
figure out.
you and I did a site
What-
visit there,
Yes.
and
we
there's
did.
like, it's an old lot, so there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
Because back in those days, like the family would buy the plot and it would last a couple of generations, so it's a very large area.
It's just not defined.
And it's not defined anywhere, but when you look at it, you go, oh, there's space over there, over here, but we can't tell with
Yeah.
Any real certainty.
any real
Some
certainty.
of the sites up there, they would
Yeah.
put corner markers, so it would
Mhm.
be easy to say, okay, it's 16 by 16, and you got in the middle is the tentacle, and so, you know, we can maybe figure out the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because we certainly, you know, full casket burial is not possible. That is just, there's no way that we can safely unearth up there without knowing that we're not gonna hit something. The only thing that we know definitively where they are is the urns.
Yeah.
We put in 95 and there's a marker there, so.
Yeah.
But, but even to say that we could do more urns, we just don't, we don't know. So,
So one question I have is, what kind of proof do you want from her, that she,
Honestly, Denise, I'd
Well,
take, go ahead, Dave.
you wanna contact her on
I'm
that.
gonna
so
contact
I'll
her on
tell her
that.
that you'll contact her.
Yes, and you know me,
eventually.
if it's reasonable,
Yeah.
then let's err on their
Yeah.
side.
Okay.
But if it's not, and we can't say for certain, then we have to protect the town's
Yeah, I
interest.
think the only thing you need to get from her is just the extent of the list.
Okay, and I will let her know that
I'll be in
Yeah.
contact
you'll
with her.
contact.
Yep.
I
Okay.
just gotta do some research, see if I can find that document.
Okay.
And when you do find it, can I get a copy just
Absolutely.
with the stuff in
Absolutely,
the office?
yep.
Thank you.
Okay, rates. I printed off what Kara had done her due diligence, and the only thing I did, just in the interest of paper and eyesight,
okay.
was the
Okay.
websites that were
Yeah,
really long.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just took them off. But all we really need to know was
Yeah.
the actually I need to give one to you, and then we can just take one and pass it around. So we have the rates in front of us. So,
Made it easy.
just for the record and for everybody in the room or the viewing audience knows, our current price per lot is $500 per lot, or
Thank you.
$800 for a double, which lowers the price
Thank you
to
very much.
$400 a lot. And that is the rates regardless. We don't have just cremation lots. Like some of the cemeteries have sectioned out, and we don't have veteran lots as well. So just to read in for the record, Manchester's price per lot is $900. Nashua's is $1,000, Concord's is $975, Keene $900, Lebanon $700, Derry $725, Bedford $750, Merrimack $900, and Salem $740. So all of those rates are either double or at a minimum 50% greater than what our current rates are. these are all municipal-run cemeteries, just like ours.
Yeah.
They're not private cemeteries, are
Yes.
obviously sometimes triple these prices. And the reason for consideration for price increases and the next discussion, pre-sales, really is based upon the fact that, for those that don't know, Pillsbury cemeteries are only actively growing and expanding cemetery left in the town. And it is being consumed very quickly, and inevitably will run out of space up there, and there really isn't anywhere else at this moment pegged for the next cemetery.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the list you provided is very eye-opening, because it looks like within the last 2 years, we sold almost 100 lots.
yes,
So that's, and it seems to be increasing the speed of sales.
correct. Yeah, and we're probably gonna amend these two discussions together, because they're
Yeah.
one and the same, and they both, you know, what we're trying to do is really preserve, to make sure that there are plots available for Londonderry residents. I think that is at the heart and the core of what the cemeteries are for.
And
Um,
as of today, we have 64 double and four single
Remaining.
remaining.
Great, so that,
And all the penny plots.
that means
Oh,
we're,
really?
that means we're even less than the 134. I just do it as how many we
Yeah.
got. So 64, that would be 128, and how many?
yeah,
So we're
wow.
down to 132.
Oh wow, so another,
Nice
Yeah,
job,
so we
30.
sold 2 more since then.
yeah.
So, since June 7th. And so, I will tell you, pre-sales, is something that ended for a lot of communities some time ago, like decades ago, because of the consumption of land, and that people sometimes, when they buy them too young in life, they don't always know what the crystal ball holds in store for them. And there's a lot, and I don't know, because we don't know exactly, if I look at a 6th grade lot in Glenwood, and there's only 2 being currently used, and I see 4 that aren't used, I don't know for a fact that family is not gonna use those 4, I don't know the family. But in some cases, I do. We had 2 relatives come up from Georgia and do a double casket side-by-side burial, which I'd never done before. It was pretty fascinating. And they only had one other grave used, and an 8-grave lot, and the other 5, they're like, we're
Yeah,
going back
done,
to Georgia,
yeah.
we're done, is there anything we can do with it? And again, because of the way that Glenwood's laid out, and it's, like I said, they have their corner markers and they have their monument in the middle. You know, there's 2 here and 1 in this back corner, so who's gonna wanna be buried in the,
In
you
between.
know, some other
Yeah.
families, and
Yeah.
there's just nothing to do. So that's, you know, land that was bought 50 years ago and never utilized. We see it all the time with people get divorced, or the parents buy thinking that their kids are gonna come back, and they never do.
Yeah.
They start their own families, or they move to the West Coast or somewhere other part of the country, or whatever. So, you know, pre-sales has become kind of a pretty old form of doing business, and it's usually done at the time of an internment. Because that's when most everybody in your family is kind of getting there anyway. And so you kind of then know really what the need is, and you end up buying more of what the need is. So we've done a lot at when people call us to do a sale and whatnot. We do a lot to kind of pull that out of them, like what's the need, how many people in the family. We do a lot of some of this upfront explanation, as opposed to just, sometimes people just call, we want 6 graves, okay, just sell it to them.
Yeah.
And we've been able to kind of put a little dent in it that way. But my fear is, I haven't even been here even 3 years, and when I got here, we had well over 300 and something available at the time. And, where we just did the expansion in 2019, we're ready to do it probably this fall, unless if we do some action.
At the current rate, if it's gonna keep going,
Yeah.
by the next year, we're gonna have nothing left.
I had people during the town meeting ask me, why every year do we gotta put a warrant article for the cemeteries, 150,000 or 75,000 or whatever? When are we ever gonna get away from that? Well, in one year, it failed. And, the reason for that is because it's a piggy bank. So every year you've gotta make that deposit because the rate that we're selling them, and hopefully being used, we've gotta have that savings to do the expansion. The one in 2019 was 264,000, I believe it was. And my guess is that was before COVID. We're probably looking at at least another 100,000 on top of that price, if not maybe a little bit more, to do the next smaller expansion. And it's not as much to do in that section as the previous one, because there's not too much drainage to do. So if we miss a year and where the voters don't approve it, and then next year we ask for more, it's a guessing game if we're gonna have enough money budgeted to do it. And again, we're kind of expanding and selling, and that's not really you look at the numbers that they provided you for a 7-year average, and at the current way that we're selling them, we've got maybe 3 years left, which means either this fall or next spring we got to do the expansion, because you can't do it. You can't wait till you're done in the last one.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've got to expand it. We've got to let the grass grow, mature. We've got to get it all laid out and everything else. The road's got to get built, and what have you. If you base it upon our sales at Pillsbury, because it was funny. I had done these analyses the last 2 years prior. I realized that I was doing my average based upon sales in general, and so interments across town. I'm like, wait a minute, no, I want to know the interments that we're only doing in Pillsbury. So, which means those are new, like people that would come in and need a burial there, because we don't sell anywhere else.
Right.
So I redid the calculations on it. And so, based upon interments in Pillsbury, if every time we had an interment, people were looking to buy, then we could stretch it out to almost 10 years. So you can see that pre-sales is kind of something that we need to take a serious look at.
So can
I don't necessarily know that jacking rates, which is a good deterrent, and also think about who you're jacking it on.
Mhm.
The Londonderry
Yeah.
residents.
Oh, yeah.
The other thing I'll just give you some information too, is last week we had some burials in Pleasant View. And the relatives were from the Lakes region. Never lived one day in Londonderry. Not one day. I don't even know if they even visited here. In fact, none of the family lives in Londonderry right now, and hasn't for some time. So, the family that was here, generations ago, and all they need to live here is 2 years, bought that. Back then they didn't have controls over how many you could buy. They bought 10 lots, and everybody and their uncle and brother and nephew and cousin and everybody's going in there. So again, I think the intent is to have space available for Londonderry residents. So, there's some strong consideration that needs to be thought about pre-sales, and do you end them? Do you want to pause them? Try it for a year and a half, see what comes of that, see if that, kind of changes the curve a little bit here. What would that impact be? I think your rates need to be adjusted regardless, but it's tough when you say you want to go from $500 to $1,000.
No, yeah.
It's crazy.
No, yeah, that's too
That's
high, yeah.
you don't want to double your rates,
Yeah.
but perhaps there's some
Yeah.
sort of combination of the two in
Yeah.
here that you want to think about and consider. So.
And sorry, can I just ask, so
Absolutely.
on your analysis,
Yep.
you had, as of January 1st, 2024, 163 lots left?
Correct.
And we're down to 132?
As of June. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So what would be the policy for pausing for a year? until we kind of figure out the
I-
expansion and, or would that push the expansion?
Yeah, I think, I mean, just, and I don't, please don't make this like I'm telling you what to do.
Yeah.
No, no.
You're a board,
No.
but I've been around cemeteries for a very long time, both before here and here. And so, to just say we're done, maybe that's not the right thing to do. But I think you need to do something. The numbers are here, the math is here, what I've experienced, what we've been experiencing as a team is here, the things that we've seen, that we've learned. Again, we're all new to the London area. I mean, the new sexton, we have admin support now, myself and Ricky, and we're just seeing things, and we've had experiences where, like you were speaking of, we found out that a family wasn't too thrilled to find out that their the deceased was allowed to be buried there, cremated, was put on their stone that they paid for. But we didn't
Yeah.
we didn't know none the wiser.
Yeah.
And it was before all of us. So, but at any rate, we had to bury somebody there, and then they were like, "What's that doing there?" We're like,
I'll never forget doing an interment with Kent, and there was like a wicked family rift. And one of the family members bent over to like throw dirt on the grave, and his gun fell out. Like that's how bad it was. And so to that point, this stuff can go south quick.
Yeah.
But I feel that Dave, the math is there. He's right about it.
Yeah.
But I also look at like the human aspect of it, and that's why I think a moratorium is a wise decision for us, because it allows us to capture data and to figure out if it's working or not. And the unintended consequence of that is that families like to plan, and they like to pay for their lot prior to their death so that their children don't have to deal with it. So that's the other thing, excuse me, we've taken into consideration.
Yeah, and I think it'll give you some time that maybe the public will reach out to you and say, hey, what's this all about, or whatever. And if you only have a couple people that really get upset about it, well then you did the right thing, and you're preserving the future of the cemeteries. And that's the other thing. I'm glad you brought that up about pre-planning. People buy the lots, and I when I first arrived here, I thought, well, that's pretty good, because like you said, they take the burden off the kids. You can get the stone there, you put your names on everything, and you just gotta wait for the dates. Well, yesterday, we've had so many burials lately. Yesterday, we buried a full casket next to another full casket. It was her mother, and she'd been in the ground for 20 years. No headstone there. So you talk about pre-planning and being prepared, and not only did the mother not put one there for her when she went in, the daughter never even got around to it.
Yeah.
So now I don't know what's going to happen. So that's the other thing that we that kind of just literally yesterday kind of peaked up, and I haven't had a chance to really even see in our rules and regulations if it's required, because me and some of the services companies that were there for the lowering device and stuff like that, we were talking about that, like, well, you guys require them to put in a stone or something? And I'm like, I don't know.
Because we have markers, right? We have markers but no names, then it just...
Well, this was in Pleasant View, and we don't even, it was, the difficulty in it was, we don't have the markers like we do up at
Pillsbury.
And so probing and trying to find the vault that was in there was difficult, and when I finally kind of did find it, we were so close to the stone that was out there for the next lot over that we made sure that when the vault went in the ground that they kissed there to get it back over. I took pictures and everything, because I'm worried that that we go to do something for the next lot over, and they're going to be like, why is she halfway in our grave? And there's nothing I can do. We can't move. I mean, it was really wedged in between two other sites, but if there are urns, somewhere down the line, then they should be. It won't be an issue anyway. So I don't even know if our rules and regulations.
I don't know that they do.
and if that's something that you guys wanna consider looking up about, the grave should be marked in some fashion, I would just advise you in what way. Because I do know from my previous employment, we did have that in their rules, that had to be marked out, or denoted in some fashion. And the people just put a wooden planter box there. And after like 5 years, it rotted and fell apart. And
I don't think
we
we
took it
do
away.
for like urns, because I remember way back doing it with Kent. If there was no marker or anything, we'd go get a stone in the woods
yeah,
and put it over, and then we would hand draw the location with the stone, just so that we knew
Yeah,
something was under that.
yeah. So, just things to think about. But you got enough to think about right now.
This is true.
And you don't need to make any decisions tonight, but, we don't have a whole lot of meetings, but perhaps we may if you need more time to think about. But I know, Carrie, you looked into the rates and stuff, so I'll stop talking now and we'll let you guys deliberate.
Well, have you guys thought about it?
So-
What you want?
I mean, I'm only thinking about
Yeah.
pausing the pre-sales
Yeah.
and then, but if we were to do that, you said moratorium, we would need to send it out, how soon? Because what I'm worried about, if we, we start pausing or raising rates, people will start, buying it out
Right.
even faster.
Good point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
if you were to do it, I would think that you'd wanna, say, starting July 1, which is a couple weeks from now. And in 18 months later would be the first of a year.
yeah,
So we'd be able to capture, like we've been doing with this, we'd be able to capture,
The
a
actual-
full year plus
Mm.
actually
Mm.
of what that did to sales. And then at that point, we can have another meeting and then, you can figure out, if it's, yielding or whatnot.
Mhm.
And it'll give us some time to maybe even go through a budget cycle too. At that point, we would be coming into, FY 27, I would think, and then if it's working out, then, those are times when you can say, yeah, we don't need to do the warrant article because
Yeah.
we're not, I
Yep.
mean, you may not, but,
Yeah.
it's hard to say, but it'll give you options,
Mhm.
for sure. But yeah, you don't wanna make a big grand announcement and then tomorrow we got 3 left.
yeah,
Which I don't know if,
Yeah.
Yeah.
how excited people get about that,
Yeah.
but, I mean, pre-sales, it just may be the thing, and then the pricing is okay with you, or not, but, I think at the very least, a nominal increase is probably wise, because, the next time you meet, maybe you do it again, so,
Yeah.
because to go from 500 a lot to 1,000
No.
or
Yeah,
even
yeah,
800,
that's-
it percentage wise, it just doesn't look,
Yeah.
it doesn't look well.
I was thinking maybe 700 or
Yeah,
750.
I agree. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking too, between
Yeah.
7 and looking at the towns that are within that range
Yeah.
they're similar.
It at least
To
brings you up
us.
to the next lowest
Yeah.
rate,
Mhm.
matching rate,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is in Lebanon, which is, different up there too, so.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
so it doesn't get you into the neck of the woods of the surrounding
But yeah,
communities, but it gets you
Bedford,
close. But yeah,
Yeah.
Bedford's right around the corner,
Mhm.
so.
yeah,
I mean, Derry's
Yeah.
725,
Mhm.
so.
I
yeah.
have a question.
Yeah.
When somebody is buried there, that hasn't pre-planned,
Mhm.
can their next of kin and their kids get plots also at that point?
So at the time of internment, that is usually when the kid, or sometimes it's the spouse, is determining, the family is determining what their needs are at that point in time.
That's typical.
Yeah, so if it's dad that went, mom's having a discussion with the family members and saying, well, are you gonna wanna be buried with us or not? And, a lot of the kids, are like, nah, and we're over here and whatever, and.
Mhm.
Is there a
but-
maximum number you allow being
Yeah.
sold at one time?
Three double plots,
2 double plots?
three.
3 double, oh, so
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
plots,
Mhm.
Which, and you can put 4 urns in each lot.
okay.
So that's a big family. So that's why we have those conversations, because, and cremation is becoming more and more and more popular.
Mhm.
So, we really try to stress, like, don't overbuy. So
Mm.
if you're a family of 4, or,
Yep.
you really need one lot,
Yeah.
unless, because like my wife, she's not gonna get buried with her in-laws. It's just, in fact, she wants me to dump her in the ocean. I said, I can do that tomorrow if you want.
She might be watching.
We love you, Christine.
So yeah, but that's a great question though, Ann, because really
Oh, my
it's
goodness.
probably the more appropriate time
Yep.
to do it rather than now, because right now you're thinking, I don't know where my son's gonna be, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, I don't know, but there are tragedies that happen. I see it happen to young families all the time. Somebody's 50 and the wife comes in and they got 3 young kids, and they're not thinking clearly, so they may buy a little bit more than they want, but I like to think we've got a solid team, and we do a good job at really being thoughtful and considerate on all levels on what we do with the families, so. So I mean, purchases at time of interment happen exactly the way they do right now with pre-sales. It's just about having a good discussion with the family and doing what's best for them, so.
So what do you guys think?
I mean, I'm thinking about the pausing of the pre-sales,
Mm-hmm.
but pausing the pre-sales with the exception of the pre-sale at the time of interment, or
Correct.
yeah.
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 No, the time of interment,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
it's
it's not, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
but just
it's
the
just the
yeah.
pre-sales.
I
Yeah,
would agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, with
Yeah.
that, I sort of want to make an exception, like if there's a lifelong resident that goes into a nursing home, can their, family still, can we make an exception for pre-sales and those you know what I mean?
We
Yeah.
do, we have worked through, through those instances.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes, there's been a situation where dad became so ill that he moved in with his daughter in Bedford
Yeah.
and was there for a couple of years and whatnot, but he was in town for 30 years, and so we worked through those individually, case by case. But, that's a far cry from, I lived in town for 35 years and then I moved to Florida and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
down there for 15 and now I want to come back and be
Oh,
buried with us
absolutely.
in
Yeah.
Londonderry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but that's what sometimes a lot of what the pre-sales, sometimes that's another form that happens, is
Yeah.
that before they beat feet, and head to the Sunshine State, which I'm envious of, but they buy their plots
Yeah.
and they head out and then thinking they're going to come home to roost, but then they've been down there 15, 20 years, they've made a whole new community, and then they do want to be dumped out in the ocean
Yeah.
or on the sandy beach that they've been
Yeah.
on. And so the lots are sold and
Yeah.
they're not used.
Yeah.
We really see it a lot.
Yeah.
So
How about reselling lots if families don't need them?
So we have, it's a great question. We have sometimes where that can work out. It's tricky with, there's a workaround for the money exchange. And what I mean by that is, once you pay money into a trust, we can't take it out. So if you bought plots and you say, hey, I gave you $800 5 years ago, I really don't want the lots, I want my money back. We can't do that. We can't take the money out of the trust. The finance director can correct me if I'm wrong. You can't take the principal balance out. What we can do is we can take your name, we can take your number, and we have a couple of those situations where if people are looking for double plots, I can say, well, I actually have one over here, and it's owned by the so-and-so family, and I can reach out to them, and if you really like these, then we can arrange it. You'll pay them directly for the same price, and then we transfer the deed.
Okay, original price they bought it for.
Yeah, and we can transfer the deed. So there's sometimes we can do that. It's tricky, but it works. But in a lot of cases, if somebody bought 3 lots, and I'll use my buddy as an example, he went in the middle lot, and so he's got a lot on either side. Now, who knows what life holds in store? So if maybe they use one of them, but they end up saying, well, we don't need the other one. Well, again, his monument is erected in a way that lot, you just can't do anything with it. So just like the previous example I was explaining, there's 3 of them in an 8-grave lot, and the 2 known relatives, drove back to Georgia. And when you get a monument there, there's no way to, if there's nobody in it, then it's different. We can do, like we said, we can do a transfer and things like that. But the unused lots that, 20, 30 years ago when they bought these plots, sometimes it's just too difficult. There's not much you can do. It's just the way that it's laid out, and, if there's already monuments there, and so there's really no way of kind of doing that, to sell off unused lots. And that's really what you're trying to avoid, is you don't want unused land, because that's what you're running out of. So you're trying to keep it available for the Londonderry residents. So I know I keep saying I'll stop talking, and then I start talking. But Ann keeps asking me good questions. And I like to be thorough.
Alright, so you wanna do pause pre-sales for 18 months?
Yes, so that would be till next June, no,
December,
No.
December.
December.
Next
December of 26.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
December of
25,
25.
Yeah.
25, yeah,
Fiscal year 26.
yeah.
Okay, so,
Like, I mean, cause I'm really worried about the rate that we're,
okay, so motion to pause the
Pre-sale.
Pre-sales
Pre-sales
of
and
plots.
Plots for 18 months.
Yep. You want to do it
Okay.
effective July 1.
Effective July 1st.
Yeah,
Second.
2024.
Any
Second.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion passed.
Good. And then just the only other thing is the rates.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are.
I would be okay with looking at increasing them to, I don't know, maybe $7.50, because it would be in line with Bedford, which I feel like we're very, very similar. Or we could do $7.25, which would be in between.
and do we have, cause I know we talked about it, I forgot about it, do we have, special rates for veterans?
We do not.
We do not.
Oh,
I will tell you this though, for one thing that should be of note, and I'm going to put Bo on the spot, but Bo was a veteran, and he continues to serve his country not only in his professional role, but as a volunteer sexton. He does waive the opening fees for all of the urn interments. And
Yeah.
so, which is a savings to each family, $295, I think is our
Okay.
rate on an open, a grave
Yeah.
opening. So he digs the holes himself. I don't know when he finds the time with 5 kids and a wife and a farm and a fire department. I don't think the man sleeps, but he could use some more beauty sleep.
I could. I could.
Knock on you there.
I do.
And veterans tend to be cremated. I don't know why that is, but at least in my experience, I've seen a lot of it, and we do a phenomenal job for them. We erect the date of interment. We have a nice tall flag that we put up for the service, and the honor guards come out and present flags, and it's really really nice setting when we do a veteran burial. But the more pointed answer is no, we do not have a veteran discount.
So could we
And
consider?
those typically, I'll tell you, it says veteran lot. Usually you have a cemetery, part of your cemetery that is for veterans,
Yeah.
and we don't
we
have
don't
that.
have, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Where I came from,
Yeah,
we did.
yeah.
And that was a big to-do because only veterans were allowed to be buried there.
Yeah, and then if you want family, then,
Mm-hmm.
You want
Our
the
family
spouse.
cemetery doesn't do that.
Hmm?
I mean, the one my family typically used doesn't have separate veterans.
Yeah.
They have a separate for babies that were
Right, yeah,
didn't last long in the
Yeah.
world.
yeah, we don't have that either. So perhaps that's a discussion for another time, but we don't have veterans discounts. months.
Okay.
So you wanna go 750?
I- I think so. I mean, the only thing, I mean, I would maybe keep the rates for veterans.
So
on
they
the-
say 500?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep the rates for the veterans at the current rate.
So we do wanna do two separate for veterans too? Okay.
I mean,
Can we,
I mean, is that?
I mean,
can we do that?
Can-
You can create a
And it
separate,
would
Without
only
a
be the
separate-
veteran, it would not be veteran family, it would be the veteran?
So it would have, well, then you get into, they can't buy, then there
Yeah,
might be like
there's no way to
single
keep
plot,
track.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
not,
This,
it,
yeah.
it
That
can
might
get,
not
it can get
be
tricky
tricky,
because
yeah.
if the veteran is still alive and he wants to buy it because his spouse passed,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
but then
yeah, that's tricky.
Yeah.
he ends up, I'm gonna go to Boscawen,
Yeah,
which
Yeah.
is the veteran cemetery.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It-
yeah.
It just adds a whole nother layer of complexity
Yeah.
here. So that's why we
Yeah.
don't have a veteran area to
Yeah.
hedge on
Yeah,
whether if you want to get into
and there's
those-
already
Yeah.
the discount
Yeah,
that,
we already have
if it's,
that.
and if
And
it's,
that's for everyone, that's for
That's for
veteran
everyone.
and
Yeah.
non-veteran.
Yeah.
It's something
Oh,
that,
okay.
that we,
Yeah.
so the background of that is I was looking for a volunteer job to do for the town to bring my kids along and show them how important volunteerism is. And so I had talked to Kevin Smith at the time about, doing the landscaping at the Common, but they were under contract. So I got in touch with Kent, who was getting on in his age and his health, and so took over for him. But I told Kevin, I go, I'll do this under the stipulation that I open the holes for no charge to the citizen,
Yeah.
like as a community service. I'm willing, I'm able, I'm capable. Trimmers was charging, I think, $395 to open a hole. I'm like, I can do this. So selfishly, I take my kids there. We spend time together.
Yeah.
They understand the community service aspect and the volunteerism. I get more out of it than anything, but it's the best thing to, when a grieving family is handing
Yeah.
over a check, that you rip it up in front of them
Yeah.
and you take a little bit of burden off of them, and I think as servants of the community, that's really
Yeah.
important, and it's something special that we have here in Londonderry.
So I just wanna point one thing, if an individual prepays with
Yes.
their burial service,
yeah,
using Peabody because they're right up the
Yes.
road.
Yeah.
They've already paid for that, so that check then comes to us,
Yes.
and rather than have to deal with, does it go to the kid, does it go to we put that money into the cemetery trust, which then goes to maintain
okay,
the cemetery,
Yep.
so it's
Yeah.
not
Yep.
staying with, it goes there to help benefit that future.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we don't have to deal with the
Yeah.
Yeah.
grieving family and add
Yeah.
money into
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
so that's already difficult for them.
yeah,
Especially where it's usually about $295 to $305,
Yeah.
where it
okay,
just doesn't,
Yeah.
and it helps maintain their plot going forward as well, so.
okay,
Yeah.
alright. Alright,
So I'll help you a little bit. Because when I think you're going from 500 to 750, that's like a 50% increase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what people are gonna grasp out of that. That's easy math for most of us. So actually, it was a challenge for me. And then,
Yeah.
so then what you wanna think about is the cost of a double plot and
Yeah.
and a little bit of a discount, like we
Yeah.
currently
Yeah,
have.
just like
Yeah.
yeah.
And so if you did 725,
Mhm.
and then a double plot would be, that'd be what, 1450, so if you wanted to do $150 off, you
Or
could do it that
1200,
way or
yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And that tightens up the discount a little bit more too, cause right now it's a $200 discount on two, so that shortens it to 150.
okay,
So there's still, you're taking a little bit of bite out of the savings, but you're also not increasing everything so dramatic, so,
okay,
so if you did it at 725 for one, and then, what did I say, 1300 for two? Does
Yeah.
that make sense? So it'd be 650, yeah.
okay,
Yeah, I think, because that puts us at the level with Derry, so it's local and it's not
Yeah,
the
it-
highest, not the lowest.
Correct. Be the same as Derry, a little bit more than Lebanon, but a little bit less than Salem.
And we're still on the lower end,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how about the six packs? Would they both get the?
So
they all
when
get the-
if they buy like six,
Yeah.
they pay 1,300 times 3. It doesn't. Yeah, there's no more like
No more
again
discount.
because you don't want to like, oh, I'll buy 6 then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? you don't, so if they want 4, then they'll still get the double discount.
Yeah.
But it just repeats itself, it doesn't grow any more or less, so.
Okay.
Alright, so you guys comfortable with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so motion to make the new fee starting July 1st?
Yeah.
For a single plot, $7.25, and a double plot, $1,300. Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Yes.
passes.
So what we can do too, we'll at least update the rules and regulations on that. We'll send out, this will give us some time to send a draft out to you and just make sure that we're all on the same page, and then we can, we get the verbiage perfect and everything, and then we'll update it on the website on July 1.
Okay.
Alright, and then, so your next task would just be to consider, maybe just research a little bit about language of the descendants, see what other cemeteries are doing around that stuff. And also, look around for verbiage on, at a bare minimum way to, mark out a grave, some kind of marking.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and then, I know Bo's gotta go and I as well, we wanna set another meeting. Usually like to do one, right before we're closing for the winter. So we can look at how things are wrapping up and whatnot. Thursdays, do they work best for everybody?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Alright, so Thanksgiving is on Thursday, what? And I don't like to get too close to December, so, actually, when is, Thanksgiving? Oh, it's the 28th this year. So why don't we go a couple weeks before that? Why don't we say the 14th? Does that work? November 14th?
Should be good.
Yeah, that should be fine.
At 6 o'clock, and we'll see what fallout came
Yeah.
of decisions, and we'll have a little bit of, we'll see how it's slowed or whatnot, at least a little
Yeah.
bit, and anything that's coming up for winter, we can talk about the installation. We're gonna probably, Ricky and I were talking about, just a better way to clean up the way we close it. We currently have like green bar posts, and it's kind of, so now we're gonna have like the fence and rail there.
Yeah.
We're gonna get some lightweight, high visibility plastic chain link that can go through, so when we close it, we'll get one little like cone with it, with the sign that we're gonna mount on it a little bit more appropriately, so that people see it, that the dates
That
were
it's closed,
closed
yeah.
and stuff like that. This winter was great, we didn't have any real issues because we didn't have any real snow, so it was
Correct.
closed for a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
And then we reopened it for, Valentine's Day,
Mhm.
and we left it open ever since.
Mhm.
So we closed it after January 1st, after the holidays were over, and we reopened it in time for Valentine's Day, so that was it. In April, when it snowed, it was gone in no time anyway, but that was interesting, having to postpone interments that were already set up for April.
Yeah, it was.
And I'm just curious, because this lists all the pre-sales, how many interments did we have, like, from the beginning of the year?
So right now,
To right now.
you have your calendar there, Denise? Or I can pull up the last one real quick.
Just so then, when we have the next data, I just wanna see what's the
Yeah.
difference and.
$15 so far.
15,
And they've been mostly.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm in the wrong year.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Sorry,
it's okay,
I'm trying to look for the last one. You just-
yeah,
so it's even more.
yeah,
So we had 10 in April.
okay,
Yeah.
oh, just in April,
Just
wow,
in But not all at Pillsbury.
yeah,
Yeah.
So that's the tricky thing. We had quite a bit at Pleasantville.
22,
22 this whole year, okay,
and that includes the one on Monday.
okay,
But that includes all 3 cemeteries too, not just Pillsbury. So maybe we can send that answer out on what Pillsbury, how many interments we had in Pillsbury. So when we send out the draft,
Yep.
put that in there too, so.
yeah, but still, it's like, it's only half of, and the rest was pre-sales, so
Right.
that's.
I can tell you that right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
you got it. I have to run, cause the budget
Okay,
committee
yeah,
is waiting.
I don't wanna
for me.
hold
you.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you
So-
so much for.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, so you can't
No,
adjourn
you're
yet.
very welcome.
The finance director has something that he's gonna talk to you about.
Okay.
All right,
Incredible.
so, once he's done,
Thank you
then
for
he can
asking.
make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I apologize, we both have meetings we gotta get
Okay,
to.
Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
will send out a
Thank you.
reminder for the one on Monday, cause I'm not.
It's good.
All right, thank you, everyone. Good job.
Thank you.
I'm not
Thank you.
here
Take care.
today.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
So,
Yeah, no, that's
Jay,
fine.
Jay got all the
Nice to
information.
meet you.
You guys remember back in
I just
Look
told him
the
I'm not
same
gonna
if
send
I-
a
Yeah,
reminder
November,
on Monday,
October.
'cause I'm not here.
Monday,
we
October.
discussed
Monday is.
increasing the amount.
I
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you guys.
See you both.
So I'll get that, remind me before we leave and I'll tell you how many burials have been in Pillsbury.
Yeah, thank you.
So back in November, December, when you guys last met, we discussed increasing the cemetery trustees' contribution for the maintenance from 17.5, which it's been at for a long time,
Yeah,
to 25.
2.5, yeah.
Yeah.
This is essentially that request to authorize the release of the 25,000 to reimburse the town for the maintenance of the cemetery. So you guys don't have to go through and add all those up. Roughly, the town spent about $36,000 on the maintenance of the cemeteries. This year, in just income for this year alone, because that's all we can spend.
Yeah.
As I told you, Amy, you weren't here, so I'll tell you. If the income for the cemetery trust fund, let's say it's 25 right now, let's say in total, for whatever reason, it gets depleted to 10. We can't take 25, we can only take 10. We can't touch principal, it has to only be income.
Yep.
This year in income alone, again, it was about 35,700 for what the cemetery trustee fund made. In total, the cemetery trustee fund has $143,000 in income, which is part of the reason we discussed increasing it, because that number's there, and essentially this falls on the Londonderry taxpayers when this fund is there to maintain the
Yeah.
cemeteries. So this is just the request to release the 25,000, and then just for safety's sake, I will also bring it to the trustees of the trust fund to request that they also release it upon your guys' approval.
Okay. See, last time we voted to increase it, and now we're basically just gonna release it, so
Correct.
to cover this.
Yep.
We said that.
The last time we voted to release the 17.5, as well as increase it, so I could add it to the budget as well to help the Londonderry taxpayers. And lower it is, I mean, it's not much, but every little bit helps. And these invoices go July through June. And I believe it's June 11th is the last one that we have. We'll
Yeah.
likely have a couple more mowings before the end
Yeah.
of June.
And I see there was the check for the removal of that pine that there was a problem with.
Sorry.
It was, but it was already agreed upon to provide it, it's just releasing it now.
Yeah.
Correct.
Alright, so motion to release the 25,000 to the town?
Second?
All
Okay.
approved?
Aye.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then if you guys don't mind on there, I created a little cover sheet
Okay.
where it has
Yeah.
approval and denial, if you don't mind just approving.
Okay.
And then at the next trustee of the trust funds meeting, I'll get their approval as well, and we'll release it.
Yep.
I'm comfortable, considering we've spent 35, we may get up to 40, leaving it at 25,000 for now, for next year. I'm not sure if you guys wanna think about that at all, dropping it back down or increasing it. To me, I think it makes sense to leave it where it is, where
Oh, sorry.
the cemetery trust fund is paying a good portion of it and the taxpayers are paying the rest to remain,
Yeah.
for it to remain pretty for them, I guess is the best way to put it, where this is allowing those that are buried there to fund its maintenance as well.
Mhm.
So I'm good with leaving it there if you guys are, but it's something to think about, we don't need to know that
Yeah,
tonight.
okay, okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Are we
Now,
good?
do we need anything for budget season, or is that gonna come the next season? The next meeting, like what we're gonna ask the taxpayers for next year?
So, in terms of that, I'll end up talking to Dave, which he'll talk with you
Yeah,
guys. I
yeah.
believe last year we got 75,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in total, that puts the capital reserve at about, on July 1st, 430,000.
Okay.
As Dave mentioned, back in 2019, it was about 268. So I'd be willing to bet a hefty amount of money that it's going to be more than that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And that 430 will likely be going for another 75, if not 150 again. But that will be up to you guys and Dave. At this point where we know this expense is gonna come and it's coming quick. It needs to stay on there to make sure that we have the money to be able to expand Pillsbury.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cause you don't wanna run out of room where now it's, what
Yeah.
do we do?
Yeah.
And well, you can balance it out because you're not going to be able to spend all 430 in one day. It takes time for them to do it, and we do it in progress.
Yeah.
You don't want to be banking on an article being passed without having the money yet to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So it's capital reserves are one of the few ways the town is able to carry money forward from fiscal year to fiscal year.
Okay, so we're
Okay.
good. We do motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Ann.